Politicians are good at making promises.
Strong, reliable protections for our consumers.
Our nation has made a promise to America's seniors.
But don't the central planners see the unintended consequences of their laws?
Like cash for clunkers.
Does this make sense? Sure, it'll stimulate the auto business. Stimulate, stimulate, stimulate.
$9.50.
Politicians often say, we need a higher minimum wage.
It's a fairness issue.
But it would kill her job.
I think I was making a good amount of money.
Empower women.
Title IX was meant to create equality.
What it ends up doing is lessening the opportunities for men.
We don't need you lawyer tyrants.
The politicians' laws let protesters bully banks into giving risky loans.
Isn't that kind of like extortion?
It's the law.
The politicians promise new stadiums will create jobs.
But do they?
It's handing money from your right hand to your left and declaring I'm rich.
Do you have someplace else to go?
Did you know that government wants you in the alpaca business? And in a house you can't afford?
Honey, there's $8,000 in here.
And what's the dumbest boondoggle? Ethanol?
Has been a case study in the law of unintended consequences.
You're a parasite feeding off the taxpayer.
Maybe the biggest boondoggle is
Health care for all.
tonight, my top 10 list of politicians' good intentions gone wrong.
And now, reporting from our nation's capital, John Stossel.
The politicians always say they'll fix things, but their laws have unintended consequences. Let's count them down. We begin with promise number 10.
Government can and should help the car makers. How? I know.
Let's destroy some cars. Does this make sense? Sure, it'll stimulate the auto business.
That was the idea behind cash for clunkers.
Cash for clunkers, we'll pass cash for clunkers.
Democrats and some Republicans voted for it.
We're thrilled to be a part of jump-starting the economy.
For 2 months last summer, the administration paid people $3,000 if they'd have their older car crushed and buy a new one. They say that stimulated the economy.
That program was good for automakers, it was good for consumers.
Good for the suppliers. It is good for workers.
Gee, I guess I should destroy more stuff.
Cash for clunkers may be the dumbest policy ever.
The Cato Institute's David Bowes and Edmunds.com CEO Jeremy Anwyl are among many who point out the increase in cars sold during the Cash for Clunker month simply stole sales from months before and after.
What's missing is that most of the cars that were sold under the program would have been sold anyway.
Well, it was successful.
Progressives like Christian Dorsey of the Economic Policy Institute point out that Cash for Clunkers did increase car sales.
So that just steals it from future years.
Well, it does to a certain degree. That's what stimulus in some ways is all about.
To get free money to get a new car.
Of course, there were the usual government screw-ups.
Federal government can't process a simple rebate.
Then Cash for Clunkers ran out of money.
The Department of Transportation telling lawmakers that they may need to suspend the program.
Instead, Congress just appropriated more of your money.
We are not discontinuing the program.
And more cars were destroyed. More success. How far can I carry this principle?
The guitar business is struggling. I know what to do. Let's destroy some guitars. The economy's struggling. Sales are down. We need to stimulate the economy. This'll do it. If I destroy some things, then they'll have to make new ones. That'll create jobs. Stimulate, stimulate, stimulate. Why is it good to destroy usable stuff?
Well, yes, cars that were taken off the road were still drivable, but at the same time, they're not leading America forward.
You look at a couple of cars like this that you would never think these are going to be cash for clunker cars.
You know, I hate to crush some of them. Some of them are better than what I drive sometimes.
Yet the politicians still say this was a good idea.
Breathing life back into the automobile sector of the American economy.
So if destroying cars is good for the auto business...
Wonder how much wealth I could create if I could just cause an earthquake.
This is a Fox News alert. A strong earthquake has rocked Haiti.
It seems crazy to imagine a disaster like this could help an economy, but some people think it can.
I think that this can be an opportunity for a real boom economy in Haiti.
She thinks that because she can see the jobs created for cleanup workers and building new buildings.
You okay?
Likewise, after September 11th, Paul Krugman said the attack could do some economic good. Rebuilding will increase business spending. People think that because they can see the rebuilding, just as they can see the extra car sales of cash for clunkers.
You can see the people going in to buy cars because the government is subsidizing the purchase of cars. What you can't see is what people would have bought if the government wasn't subsidizing the purchase of cars. Maybe they would have bought computers. Maybe they would have added a room onto their house. Maybe they would have put the money in their savings account to save for college. It's very hard to see what isn't done.
And there were other unintended consequences.
The Cash for Clunkers program may hurt you if you want to buy a used car.
Used car prices went up an average $1,800 because used cars that would have been sold were crushed. Those of you who hoped for a bargain on a used car, too bad. And one more unintended consequence. Charities that rely on used car donations were hurt.
The phone stopped ringing. We've gotten like 2 cars donated in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, it's tough.
So we raised the price of used cars. We reduced the number of cars given to charity. We barely affected the environment, and we spent several $billion on it.
It was more successful than we ever imagined.
Why doesn't the government just butt out?
You can't create a program that's going to make everybody happy. There are always going to be trade-offs. And I think the larger goals of Cash for Clunkers were honorable, and some of the trade-offs I can live with.
He can live with that, but can taxpayers? On to promise number 9. Congress must guarantee Americans a living wage. It's only fair.
Protesters and politicians agree. Wages should be higher.
It's a fairness issue.
For years, America's minimum wage was $5.15 an hour. Last year, Congress raised it to $7.25. 14 states have gone further. Washington State, for example, guarantees workers $8.55 an hour. Progressives say it should be higher.
Absolutely.
What would that be about?
It would be about $9 an hour.
Well, it's a nice idea.
Economist Russ Roberts points out setting minimums has unintended consequences.
The first reaction is, great, I got to get a raise. This is fantastic. I'm finally going to be able to buy this, that, and that, take care of my kids. And that, of course, is part of the political appeal of the minimum wage.
That's the seen benefit.
That's the seen benefit, if you keep your job.
What would happen if the government forced my company to increase wages?
Gosh, you guys happy? You want that?
Aren't you guys, aren't you underpaid? Come on. So, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So let's give them a 50% raise. Your first thought is, that's awesome, 50%. Your second thought is, I wonder if they're going to keep as many camera people as they had before.
We quit hiring people without experience.
Merv Christ runs the Prime Cut, a combination meat counter and bar in Bakersfield, California.
Minimum wage jobs are an entry-level job to get someone some experience to do something. You raise that high enough, you cut those people out of the market completely.
When California's minimum wage rose to $8 an hour, he stopped hiring new people. Low-wage jobs used to be a way for kids and the unskilled to get into the labor force, to prove themselves. Most every gas station used to offer free window cleaning. Not anymore. The construction industry used to be a place teens could get a foot in the door, learn the discipline of regular work. But the minimum wage left many teens out of jobs. No wonder teen unemployment is 26%.
If they were to get rid of the minimum wage, we could easily hire more people.
Warren Myers manages public parks. When the minimum wage went up, he replaced workers with machines.
We're trying them out now, trying out various automatic gate solutions. I much prefer having a person because that person can be friendly and provide a smile, and they can provide information about the park, and they can answer questions and where are the bathrooms. But
with the higher minimum wage, he switched to automated ticket machines. Fewer people, more unemployment. In fact, unemployment has risen more in states that raised their minimum wage.
What would happen if we threw out the minimum wage?
Oh my goodness. What that leaves is an employer in the catbird seat to drive that wage as low as possible.
But wait a second. These businesses would like to pay their employees as little as possible, but they must pay more than minimum wage, because good workers have choices. At this bowling alley restaurant, most workers make more than the minimum, but they didn't start there.
I was minimum wage as dishwasher, which was like $3.75, $4 somewhere. It's been a while back.
Now he makes $10 an hour.
Why is it that only 5% or less than the American workforce earns the minimum wage? The other 95, 97% that earn more, why are they being paid so much? Is it because their employers just feel guilty paying them less?
No, it's because employers have to pay them extra to keep good workers. Kelsey started working here when she was just 13.
For being only 13, I think I was making a good amount of money, so minimum wage was fine.
Now, Kelsey makes as much as $20 an hour.
If you work hard, you can make more. It's just, you have to prove yourself.
But had the minimum wage been what Senator Kennedy wanted,
Increasing the minimum wage to $9.50 an hour.
Kelsey may have never had that chance. Her job might have disappeared.
Some business at the margin says, I can make money paying people $6 an hour. I can't make it paying them $7.25. I won't expand.
If the cost of expanding workers is too much for you to absorb, then you probably don't have the best business model going.
Whoa, that's harsh. Then you deserve to fail? How does that help workers?
What could be more cruel than to raise your wage artificially and now you have no wage?
Higher unemployment thanks to government's good intentions.
If you work, you should not live in poverty.
I'm against sexism, aren't you? Men and women should be treated equally. That just seems fair, but it's a new idea.
Our culture used to say, we men are the breadwinners, women do housework.
Flying high on my freedom, got a brand new rap.
Then came the women's movement. President Nixon signed Title IX, which says, no person shall, on the basis of sex, be subjected to discrimination. Government can create equality.
Empower. Empower. Empower women.
Vice President Biden says Title IX changed civilization.
We made a significant advance in civilization.
Title IX did that? No. By the time Title IX passed in 1972, life had already changed. 3 years before, when I graduated college, my college didn't even admit women. But by the time Title IX passed, it was already co-ed. And today there are more women in college than men. Parents demand soccer leagues for their girls, and they get them because institutions respond to consumer demand. But that's not good enough, say the Title IX lawyers.
The Women's Sports Foundation has conducted industry...
The Women's Sports Foundation is led by athletes like law professor Nancy Hogshead McCarr. McCarr won Olympic gold medals in swimming and a college scholarship only, she says, because of Title IX.
Duke University would not have given me that scholarship had it not been for that statute.
Maybe back then you needed to force it. But now colleges want to appeal to women.
Every day I'm on the phone with people who are having a hard time with their athletic programs.
Under Title IX, athletic participation is supposed to be sex proportionate. So if 50% of the students are women, 50% of the athletes better be women, or a school may get sued. So schools protect themselves by cutting boys' teams.
The mat was yanked out from underwater last summer when the university cut the wrestling program over Title IX.
JMU no longer has a swim team. It's one of 10 teams the school is cutting.
The USA Rugby Collegiate Champions.
Cal Berkeley were national rugby champions last year. But this year, the school told them they are no longer a varsity sport.
Today, the university gathered student athletes together to announce the news.
Pretty much all were in shock.
Give us something.
Coach Jack Clark says it's all about Title IX.
We have 60 males. We've ended up, demoted out of intercollegiate athletics because of male headcount.
If you're trying to even out the number of men and women, a team with 60 players is a fat target, even if they're national champions.
Right now, we have 4 players on the national team, 12 All-Americans last year.
The school told them the team was cut to save money, but get this team is self-sufficient.